welcome to the next video in the My Sim Cockpit playlist. This will be about first a couple of changes or a couple of additions and modifications that I made to my cockpit, to my rig over the months and years since my first video about the cockpit. And secondly, more importantly, I'll show you how I record and basically how I make my videos in as detailed as I can do it. So probably gonna be a bit lengthier this video. Anyway, let's start with the setup. Over here, all my wheels. I think I told you, if you watch the playlist, you know enough about these wheels, so I won't go into detail here. Here's the latest edition. But for the setup, here is the computer. It's still the same. You can check the specs in the video description, or I think even in every video's description. Down here you can see the ProtoSimTech PT1 prototypes, still working fine, perfectly. This has changed since the last time. So here is a second computer, and I'll tell you why a second computer in a minute. Small mixing desk for audio stuff, and yeah, that's basically, the rest is the same. I mean, the rig, as you can see, is in a different position now, but it's not important. Over here we have my main camera, which I use to record my videos. It's a Logitech C920 webcam. It's nothing super spectacular. On a stand here are my shoes, by the way. Yeah, this is the primary camera. And over here, let's try it this way, actually. Yeah, that little ball, I don't know if you can see it, that's another Logitech webcam. It's much older, not as good, but for a pedal cam it's sufficient that you can see it again. Again, sorry, cable management is not my not my biggest strength, as you can see. Over here you can see the KVM switch for the center monitor. I think I mentioned this in the first video. Yeah, but I think that should be it. Little Netgear switch here for a quick overview how the setup looks now and where everything is located. And I will go into detail how the recording works. So, yes, one more thing I forgot to mention, which is quite obvious when you look at the setup. I put the whole thing on a wooden platform. I think it's about 4 centimeters thick, and on these caster wheels, 6 of them, and on a rubber mat which is about, I think, 1 centimeter thick. Mainly did that because I had problems with my neighbors because of the vibrations and noise going through the floor, and so I had to think about something, and this seems to work well enough. And there's actually 2 advantages. One, I can move the whole thing backwards and forwards quite easily, and second, the whole thing is, when you look here, it looks rather shaky, but it also means that yeah, the force feedback sometimes even transmits into the seat a bit, and it adds a little bit to immersion, a tiny bit. I mean, it's not much, but and I don't notice the shaking at all while driving when I'm seated in the rig. It's no problem. So yeah, that's that. Ah yes, one more little thing. I don't think I ever showed you this in a video. I mentioned in several videos, I think, how I destroyed, broke the cooling fan control for my T500 because of a short circuit, and this is how this is my solution to the problem. You can see the fan is not running at the moment, and just have the switch here, and now the fan is running. I'm gonna turn it off. So I basically can turn it off and on whenever I want. I like that. So, but now to the setup.
Okay, I have made a little sketch diagram of my recording setup. It's quite complicated, as you can see. The main reason is I am using two computers, one for running the simulation and one for recording. Initially, in my earlier videos, I used a normal video camera which records on an SD card, and then afterwards I just loaded the files onto my computer and put them together in my editing software and such. And later I wanted to switch over to a webcam because, yeah, basically to save editing time. You will see later on what I mean. But this means I have to use recording software on the computer, and if it's running on the same computer, I'm already stretched for performance with the triple screens and trying to get high frame rates above 100, 120. So recording software running simultaneously, it just doesn't cut it for me. It doesn't work. It eats up too much performance. So I decided to use a second computer, which makes the audio setup quite complicated, especially the audio setup. Yeah. Let's start with the headset. I was a bit picky in that regard because I wanted to have I want to hear my microphone in my headset. So usually you would do this with an audio mixing desk, but I wanted to use a gaming headset for several other reasons, and most of the gaming headsets can't really do that. You don't hear yourself when you're talking in the headphone, and I find it a bit weird to be honest. I'm used to hearing myself in recording studios, and yeah. So the only one I could find that can do that is or at least in the price range I searched, was the Turtle Beach Z22. It has this little headset preamp where you can set a couple of volume levels, and there's also a little equalizer in there. Sorry. And the most important thing for me, here you can see a signal from the microphone going into the headset preamp and directly looping back into the headphones. So, and I can regulate, I can set the level right here on the preamp. So microphone head into this little piece and then back into the headphones. That's the first thing. Then from this little preamp, this is connected via USB to the recording computer, so this transports basically the microphone signal, and yeah, that's one thing. So here I have to, on the recording computer it runs OBS. I have to have my microphone signal and also of course the game audio from the computer that is running iRacing, which is done via this line out here cable to the mixing desk, into the normal channels, and sent to auxiliary out back into the line in of the recording computer, and at the same time I can also send it through the headphones out, which go here back to the headset preamp and into my headphones, of course. and also through the main out to my stereo speakers and subwoofer, which is not important for the recording setup, but yeah, I also have the possibility to run all of this without a headphone. Yes, so I have on the recording computer I get microphone and game audio. Then also I of course need to route back my microphone also to the gaming computer, because I'm also using voice chat in iRacing or TeamSpeak. So this goes out of the line out of this computer into the line in of the gaming computer. Yeah, I think that's mostly the audio part mostly covered. Trust me, this took much more time than it took me now to explain it to figure it out. Normally you would do this just with a mixing desk and proper equipment and separate microphone and such, and would be no problem. Anyway, yeah, then I have these two cameras here. This is the small Logitech cam for pedal cam, USB into the recording computer, and the same is true for the main camera. So I have all the signals in the recording computer and the gaming computer what I need. This is how the routing works. I hope I didn't forget anything. Yeah, but I think the sketch explains it quite well how it works, I hope, at least. So yeah, I will show you my settings in OBS, I guess, because it's also was also not too easy to get it set up right. So next part. The recording computer. OBS already opened. Let's preview the recording, and you see black screen, nothing is activated here in the scene. Main thing, camera 1, this is the main camera. Hello. Yeah, it's very choppy now, of course, but that's because I'm connected via TeamViewer, and yeah, it of course isn't as choppy. Usual isn't that choppy. So, and next camera is here. You just configure these layers and activate them, and yeah, that's it basically. I've also made frames for these cameras, which are pedal frame here. That's the main frame, and then frames for relative screen and for session information, for the standings, and also here goes the tablet usually. And the overlay, which works via the CLR browser plugin. There you go. Oops, you should see this. Actually, it doesn't matter. You can't get in anywhere. Anyway, yeah, IP address of the of the gaming computer port, and the configuration basically for the overlay plugin. And this is the CSS. I'll actually show you this if you want to copy it. I don't have a problem with all of this. There we go. Of course, it only works when iRacing is running, which is not in the moment. Then you have a logo here, and line in is an audio thing, which allows me, it's a plugin which allows me to actually record audio from a second audio source, except system audio of the same computer where OBS is running on, which wouldn't help me because I need, of course, the audio from the other computer. So it's coming through the line in, as I showed you in the sketch, and this plugin allows me to exactly do that. The only problem, I think it's not very stable, and sometimes OBS crashes, I think, because of this plugin. Yeah, this is another overlay I tested, the one by Joel Guess. I haven't had the time yet to do any further testing, but I think it's pretty cool. Yeah, and these are just yeah, self-explanatory, I think. Anyway, these are the different layers. This is how my OBS setup is configured. So you see, the big advantage of this setup is I get all the signals into my recording computer, I have OBS running, and basically when I stop the recording, the video is almost done. It's almost finished. I mean, it's still loaded into my editing software to cut in the intro and outro and several other stuff, but it's much less complicated than it used to be. So yeah, one more very important thing about OBS. I am actually using a different branch of OBS which allows me to use a different encoder, namely this one here, the AMD VCE encoder, which is meant for AMD graphics cards. The recording computer is, I think it has a Intel Q8200 CPU, one of Intel's first generation quad-core CPUs. Slightly overclocked, I think, but still not very powerful. I think it runs at 2.8 gigahertz or so. But it has also a AMD HD, what is it, 7850 graphics cards, I think, graphics card, yeah, which is moderately powerful. Let's put it this way. And this encoder allows me to do all the video encoding on the GPU and then not on the CPU, which gives me much better results. So that's why I'm using this different branch. So I'll just show you the different settings. Of course, everything is in German. I apologize for that, but I think you can check this out for yourself. I hope it's readable on the video. I played around with these settings for very long because first, I don't understand half of the settings, especially in the encoding sections. And secondly, I just some effects were weird, and why some settings work better than others, I still don't understand. But these are definitely the settings where I get the most, the best results, best quality, and least choppiness. So you see, it's actually recorded in 720p. That's because the main camera, the web camera, can't do a 1080p in 30 frames per second. Really, it should be able to do it, or maybe it's not the camera, maybe it's my computer which can't encode it quickly enough. But anyway, I had to use this resolution. I then make it 1080p in editing, which is not ideal, but in rendering, so to speak. But yeah, it's still the best result. 60 frames per second, which is also sort of fake because the camera can only do 30 frames per second. But still, if I encode to 60 frames per second in OBS, it still looks a little bit better. That's why I do that. Yep, audio, hotkeys, and not interesting. These settings here, I don't use this. These here, as I said, AMD VC encoder can set a million things. I do not use the browser plugin here. I do. Oh, actually I do. Why? Anyway, I don't know what this does here. Actually, confused. Oh no, this is for Joel's plugin. I haven't configured this yet. Yeah, okay, that's the settings. Yeah, I think that's it for OBS. I'm sure this is not... That doesn't explain half things for people who are not familiar with this type of software and all the technical stuff. But for those who do know the way around recording programs, that might help. I've opened up an older video. This is the Rally Daytona prototype at Road Atlanta. I don't know how I titled this video, but it's a while ago. It's an example for a bit more complicated editing. This is still it's already with a new webcam and such. So the old video files were even much more complicated, more objects and more video files, but it still had a lot of replay cut into it and intros, outros, whatnot. So you see these little things here. It all takes time to edit this. What's this here? I remember this race now. Ooh, what a race! Yeah, this is how the software looks. Basically, you have here the different files, and then you draw them into here. And I mean, those of you who know how video editing software works, they know what I'm talking about. And then I render, usually now to MP4 in. I show you the settings. Where is it? There. Yeah, 1080p. Bitrate of, what is that? 22 kilobytes per second, I think. Yeah. AAC audio 192 bitrate. Yeah. Oh, here we that's the better tab. Yeah, here you can see it. Frame rate 60. 22,000. Yeah. That's my settings for rendering. That's basically it. It takes usually, depends on the video length, and also how many or what sort of objects I included into the video, but I don't know, half an hour, 2 hours. It's not always the same. And then the uploading takes even longer. And also YouTube takes a bit of time until the video is actually available in all the different resolutions and frame rates and such. So yeah, I'll show you another project, I guess, a current one. Ooh, you'll actually see folders of videos not released yet. Actually, I don't know. Let's take this one. I surely have released this one by now. Yeah, you see, much less complicated. This is just the main video file. It looks like I had to do some manual syncing because audio and video is separated. Intro here, this little object here. This is a frame just over the whole video. Result, outro, that's it. Yeah. This is how I make my videos now. One thing that might be interesting for you too is how I make the thumbnails. This one, for example. I just have a template file for this. This one here. Working GIMP, not Photoshop. Also my paints, I do all of them in GIMP. Where is it? Here. Yeah, this is the template file, and I just draw a screenshot of the race in here, and then I activate different layers, which show, for example, the iRacing logo or whichever simulation it is. And then I have the different wheels here. So I can make thumbnails pretty quickly, actually. Insert the title and export it to a picture file, and finished. Yeah, I think I have covered everything I wanted to cover. I hope.